welcome to Katie and Jen's Disney Film Podcast.
A look at Disney films and beyond.
I'm Jen.
And I'm Katie.
And this episode's film is The Lion King.
Let's get started.
Katie, can you tell us what this film's about?
I certainly can. I've got a very brief synopsis for you. The Lion King is the story of a young lion, Simba, who just can't wait to be king. However, after his evil Uncle Scar kills his father and blames him, Simba flees into exile to forget his responsibilities. Later, with the help of his childhood friend Nala and a wise mandrill Rafiki, he realises his true destiny and returns home to reclaim the Pride Lands from Scar.
I found two weird synopsicals?
No.
Synopsicals on IMDb and Wikipedia, and I would like to share those even though they add nothing and do not describe really what happens in this film. This is by Anonymous on IMDb. Says, Lion Cub and future King Simba searches for his identity. His eagerness to please others and penchant for testing his boundaries sometimes gets him into trouble.
Okay.
Does that tell you about this film?
No, not really.
I feel like it tells me about a different film. Then the other one, this was on Wikipedia, part of the description, explains how he reaches maturation while living with two wastrels.
Oh, maturation.
An unusual way to describe Timon and Pumbaa, one of Disney's greatest duos.
Wastrels.
Wastrels.
And maturation.
Yes.
Somebody's just showing off that they know words.
Yeah, luckily not me. Someone on Wikipedia. Who are you? Raise your hand. Gallery made.
I can give you a fact about Timon and Pumbaa if you like.
Yeah, okay.
Do you know the song Can You Feel the Love Tonight?
I do. It's a song that I like and you do not like so much.
Well, I think I would have liked it better if it had been the comic duet by Timon and Pumbaa that it was in the early previews of the film. Because I think that would be awesome. And
Me too.
Apparently Elton John saw a preview and he was far from happy and told them that they'd ruined the film.
Oh.
Because he'd always loved the Disney love songs and said that he took the job because he wanted to write an iconic Disney love song. So that's why they changed it back. And history would say that was the right thing to do. I still would like to hear it as a ironic, jealous song.
I would like to hear it too. Does it exist?
I believe they did a recording. It's probably somewhere.
Because I did find out that originally in Hakuna Matata there was a verse which explained Timon's past to go with Pumbaa's, and that was cut from the film, but it does appear in The Lion King 1.5, the 2004 film, which I've never watched. So I was wondering if perhaps we can also hear the romantic duet in another place.
I've seen Lion King 1.5. I don't remember the verse about Timon. Well, if it exists, we can find it. Excellent.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen the film, so I don't know. This is something I found out and thought was interesting, but I didn't fact check it by watching Lion King 1.5 because I'm going to put it out there. I watched Lion King 2 Simba's Pride and wasn't overly impressed and didn't feel the need to watch another Lion King sequel, so...
Lion King 1.5 is the Lion King story from Timon and Pumbaa's point of view.
Oh, that sounds like a great film for you because it's kind of like watching a film with the commentary on. And I, to this day, have still only watched one film with the commentary on, and that was Mean Girls, and I've never seen the commentary for any other film.
No comment. No commentary.
No commentary.
Nathan Lane and Ernie Sabella, who are the voices of Timon and Pumbaa, they met at the audition. They originally wanted Nathan Lane for Zazu and Ernie Sabella as one of the hyenas. And when they met, they asked if they could audition together. And after that audition, that's why they got given Timon and Pumbaa.
Oh, yeah. Is this because they had chemistry in real life? Because I feel like as Timon and Pumbaa, they are just brilliant.
Are we going to say the best Disney double act?
I want to.
I want to as well.
They are. And if anyone at home can think of a better Disney double act or an equal one or just another one they like, please let us know.
How can they do that, Jen?
On Twitter at KJDPod or by email
kjdpodcast@gmail.com, or you can find us on Facebook.
Yeah, so please let us know who are other top Disney duos, because I think Timon and Pumbaa are probably number one, for me at least.
I think I agree.
Talking about voices, I would like to talk about Frank Welker, who I just found out about today and I'm very excited about. Frank Welker provided all of the lion roars for this film.
Excellent fact.
Yeah. There was not a single recording of an actual lion roaring because producers wanted specific sounding roars for each lion. And I was really interested in this, so I looked up Frank Welker to see what else he'd done. And if you look at his IMDb, it's basically a list of animal sounds. So in Aladdin, he was Abu, he was the Cave of Wonders. I tried to write down he was the magic carpet, but what I meant is Raja, because the magic carpet doesn't speak, obviously. He was Lucifer in the third Cinderella film. I couldn't find out if he was Lucifer in some of the earlier ones as well, probably not the original. He was all of the animal voices in the Tarzan TV series. He was Max in Little Mermaid 2. He was Pegasus in the Hercules TV series. And the list goes on and on and on. So, what does this man really sound like? I don't know. I'm fascinated. Frank Welker. He's my new favourite actor.
Right, well, I'm going to see your Frank Welker and I'm going to raise you a Jim Cummings.
Oh!
He did the voice of Ed the hyena. He also voiced the gopher in The Lion King. And he also filled in for Jeremy Irons as Scar when Jeremy Irons threw his voice out in Be Prepared. And I feel like he should be here today providing my voice as I've got a terrible cold. But he's not.
I'm sorry. And maybe we should have invited him.
He's got about 460 credits on IMDb, and if you've seen a Disney sequel or a Disney Channel cartoon, then you have heard Jim Cummings. And he's also appeared in loads of films: Wreck-It Ralph, Winnie the Pooh, Princess and the Frog, Tarzan, Hercules, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Pocahontas, Aladdin, and obviously Lion King. He's another prolific voice actor for Disney.
That'd be a great job.
Let's just say how well cast this film is. Every single voice is perfect.
Yeah, and you know, when you mentioned the gopher, I really wanted to go off on a tangent about that gopher, but I'll save that because I wanted to talk more about the voices. This film is really well cast. Really well cast. And also, there are a lot of very well known actors in it, which I was a little bit aware of, but not fully until I was actually looking on IMDb at all the voice actors, and it's star-studded.
I'm just trying to think that how many of them weren't particularly well known when The Lion King was made, but I think the majority were. James Earl Jones, Jeremy Irons, Rowan Atkinson.
Whoopi Goldberg.
Yeah. They were all
actually,
well known.
Jeremy Irons and Whoopi Goldberg had already received an Oscar each by the time this film came out, so they were very well known. Incidentally, they won their Oscars in the same year, 1990.
That is an excellent fact.
I was surprised to find out that Matthew Broderick is the voice of adult Simba, which I didn't know before, I don't think, and didn't recognise as I was watching it last week, and only after I knew it was him, I thought, oh, of course, that 100% sounds like Matthew Broderick. I actually found out that when he signed onto the film, he thought that this was going to be an American remake of a Japanese cartoon called Kimba the White Lion. And I guess even after he found out it wasn't, he still stayed on. And another thing I found out to do with that is that the production company that made Kimba the White Lion accused Disney of plagiarism on that.
Matthew Broderick didn't perform the singing voice of Simba, though, even though he can sing.
Can he sing? Yes, he was in The Producers.
He certainly was. They had the voice of Joseph Williams. I don't know why Disney seemed to do that quite a bit, where they have a acting voice and a singing voice. Perhaps they have a specific sound in mind and it's not necessarily the right sound, or the actor can't sing, but in Matthew Broderick's case he can.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? I wonder if you're right, they do just have an idea of what they want the singing and the speaking to sound like, and they can't find one person to fill both roles. Also, I think child Simba there were three children who did singing and speaking for him.
No, there's just two, but the acting voice was Jonathan Taylor Thomas. So that's perhaps why you think it's three people. And
because 3 first names as his whole name.
Yeah, pretty much. And Jason Weaver provided the singing voice.
Speaking of Jonathan Taylor-Thomas, one of the things I found out was that when they were filming the scene where Simba gets pinned down by Nala, they hit him on the back to make it sound like he'd gotten the wind knocked out of him, which seems a pretty savage way to treat a child, but what do I know?
I think it's alright. Says she in childcare. It's got to sound convincing. He was famous before The Lion King. He was in Home Improvement from 91 to 98, yeah.
So let me tell you the gopher thing, because it's on my mind, and then we can move away from the gopher. But the gopher is not native to Africa at all. In fact, gophers are endemic only to North and Central America. What that should have been is a naked mole rat, but apparently they spent a really long time trying to animate it and couldn't get it to look right, and the animators said, this mole rat is going to lose us our rating. So they just skipped him and put in a gopher. That's fine. You know, I'm happy to see a decent gopher rather than an indecent mole rat. But my biggest problem with the gopher is that...
I'm sorry. Can we have hashtag indecent mole rat, please?
Yes, we can. Hashtag indecent mole rat. No one wants to see it. They made the right decision. I'm not sure when this song came in. The Morning Report song, do you know it?
No.
When they remastered the film to re-release, they included in a song, Morning Report, and this song is horrible. And the 2 times I think that I've seen the film with this song in, it hurts me. It's so bad.
In fact, I've got a little bit of information that I've just found if you want it.
Yes.
The Morning Report was first released for the stage musical. The musical number was added to the special edition of the film with a slightly different version than that of the stage musical. However, when the film was re-released in cinemas in 3D, the song wasn't shown, nor was it included in the Diamond edition released in 2011.
And the version I watched last week actually didn't have that song in, and I was very thankful. But when Zazu's giving Mufasa the Morning Report and that gopher pops out of the ground to say hyenas, that's when they interject this terrible song. It felt like, let's go back to a time when you had to record onto a VHS. It felt like watching your favourite recorded from television film, and when you're halfway through, someone has started recording over your film, realised they're doing it and stopped, but there's, 30 seconds in there that you just don't want, and it's actually kind of tainted the rest of the film for you. That's Morning Report for me.
For anybody that was a fan of that little story that Jen just told, wait till the Mary Poppins episode when I've got a very similar actual real life one for you.
Have you?
Yes. Talking about the VHS, on the first day of the video release, 4.5 million were bought. And for our younger listeners, a video is like a DVD, but it's a rectangle and you have to rewind it before you can start watching it again.
Yeah, and the film is on a tape that stretches and scratches in a way that DVD can never do. So if you watch a video too many times, sometimes you can spoil it.
Ah, nostalgia. Did you have The Lion King on video?
I did.
So did I.
I found out that apparently, from the time that this article I was reading was written, The Lion King was the best-selling home video of all time, with more than 55 million copies sold to date. So I had one of them, you had one of them.
So that's 2.
Yeah, just the rest.
So we can account for 2 of those.
Hands up, did you have The Lion King on VHS? Hashtag indecent mole rat.
Just another factoid about the film.
Mm-hmm.
Until Frozen, Lion King was the highest grossing animated film and is still the highest grossing hand-drawn animated film ever.
Really?
Yep.
That's amazing. Also, Lion King was actually the highest grossing film of 1994 worldwide, and only in America was it not, and it came in second to Forrest Gump.
Ah.
Yeah, so the entire world went nuts for The Lion King, but America went just that little bit more nuts for Forrest Gump. Another great film.
Apparently, when it was in production, nobody had real faith in The Lion King, so the main Disney animators all opted to work for Pocahontas, which they thought would be a much better film, mainly because of its historical content. how wrong they were.
Yeah, and obviously we haven't done Pocahontas yet, so we can't
say how boring it is.
What? It's a great film. But obviously we've just said that this is the highest grossing animated film, and it was the highest grossing film of its year, so like with Snow White, where they thought it would be a dud and it was great, again, Lion King, represent. Actually, as you've spoken about the people choosing to work on Pocahontas over working on The Lion King, one person, Andreas Deha, D-E-J-A. I'm going to go with Deha. I don't want to offend him. Sorry, Andreas, if you're listening. He was a lead animator on Scar, so he was one of the people that chose to be on this film. And he was also lead animator on another famous Disney character, who I'll get to in a moment. There is a scene at the start when Mufasa is cross about Scar, and he says to Zazu, "What should I do about him?" And Zazu says he'd make a very attractive throw rug. When they said that in the film, I wrote down, when is Scar a rug? Because I knew that there's another Disney film where he does, in fact, appear as a rug.
That's
and
right.
It's in Hercules. And Andreas Deha was also the lead animator on Hercules. So Scar's cameo is actually a nod to the connection between those two characters.
Very good indeed. That's one of the more obvious Disney cameos. Quite often, although I don't think there are any in The Lion King, but quite often there's small references to films that are currently in production or the film that's just come out. But in Hercules, you can't miss that it's Scar.
Yeah, you really can't, because he's so distinctive looking.
Yeah.
And he's big as well. Because lots of the other cameos, like the Beast in Aladdin, he's a tiny little doll on the stack of dolls. But, yeah, in this one, you can't miss it. If you've seen Hercules, you've seen Scar. So somebody, after Scar, is... Well, we're led to believe that he's ripped apart by hyenas. So after he's ripped apart by hyenas, somebody goes in and is like, "Hey, this is a great skin. I'm going to take it, and I'm actually going to take it back in time, and I'm going to give it to this Greek demigod." Brilliant.
Yeah, that's plausible. It's Disney.
When is time travelling explored in Disney, just so that I know what other crossovers come into this story?
That is not a question you can ask me while we're recording a podcast. That will take time and research.
And money. Just a thought, maybe for next time.
There is a hidden Mickey. If you don't know what a hidden Mickey is, it is the face of Mickey Mouse hidden somewhere in films, in the parks, in all sorts of things. And the hidden Mickey in Lion King is on the back of a yellow beetle.
Talking of hidden Mickeys, and I'm sorry this isn't related to the film, I saw a really fantastic one when I was at the Florida park last year, which is the way they arrange their hanging baskets on walkways. When the sun hits it in a certain way, it makes a Mickey shadow on the ground. How do they think this stuff up? There's so much attention to detail.
Do you have any more facts that you want to share?
I do have some more facts that I want to share. How much time have we taken? I would like to talk about the villainy of Scar, because I think he's just an excellent villain. I think he might be one of my favourite Disney villains, and he's actually one of the primary villains of the Disney Villains franchise, which I'm not overly familiar with, but I imagine that's pretty prestigious because, you know, every Disney film has a villain. Do you have feelings about Scar as a villain? I want you to share with me in this joy.
I think he's an excellent villain. I think he's got a good motive to be a villain, which sometimes are lacking. Sometimes people or animals are evil for no reason, whereas Scar has got jealousy and motivation there. Voiced by Jeremy Irons, how could you not enjoy the performance? He's a little bit camp, so how can you not love him as a character and despise him at the same time?
Yeah, and that's a great villain, isn't it? When you like them for their villainy, but you dislike them because they are an evil villain.
Apparently,
I like to feel torn about characters.
Yeah, it is good. If characters make you feel something, then they're a good character. Apparently, a scene was cut where the reason for Nala being so far out of the Pride Lands was because she'd spurned Scar's attention. They didn't think that was in keeping with the Disney film, and I'm glad, because that would really make Scar very unlikable.
Yeah, that would have been quite nasty.
And uncomfortable.
Yeah, very uncomfortable. However, However, actually, off of that, the stage musical adaptation does include that plot development, and I found out it's because the director, Julie Taymor, put a lot of effort into expanding the female character's presence in the story. Apparently, the animators were so impressed with Jeremy Irons' performance as Scar that they worked his facial features into Scar. Well done.
Jeremy Irons is awesome and
Irons
has one of the best voices in the world. He is the narrator of the Studio Tram Tour, where you go around and see all the special effects.
Very good.
And at the very end, he goes, "And if you see a dragon, slay one for me." And it just has a very nice voice. So we like Jeremy Irons in this gang.
Let me talk about 2 more things.
Okay.
Years and years ago when I had this on video and then found out that several of the animators actually went to Africa to study animal behaviour and interaction in the wild. And they also had a grown lion and a cub brought into the studio as models for anatomy and musculature. I can't remember if it was on my Lion King video or a different one, but it had a little behind the scenes of the making of the Lion King, and it actually had a shot of the animators in the studio with this lion on the stage, and I was just absolutely enthralled by that as a child, and I wished that I was a Disney animator. And linking a little bit back to Snow White, I suppose, I found out that they also did this for Bambi. They just studied lots and lots of wild animals to get the anatomy right. And I wonder if before they did it for Bambi, actually they were doing it for Snow White, and that's what made them think of Bambi. I know we discussed this last week, and maybe we'll never find out what came first, the Bambi or the Bambis in Snow White.
Fortunately, Bambi and the Lion King were so far apart that there weren't any deer left in the studio when the lions arrived.
Yeah, good for the deer. I mean, they're obviously perished of natural or unnatural causes by them, but still, no one wants to see deer being eaten by a lion, do they, Katie?
No, nobody wants to see that unless they're David Attenborough.
Yes. So the final thing that I would like to say about this film before we move on to our opinions, where I'll say a lot more, is the lyrics, the translated lyrics for The Circle of Life. Have you read these before?
Yes.
I think they're great. Here comes a lion, father. Oh, yes, it's a lion. Here comes a lion, father. Oh, yes, it's a lion. That's great. I wish that... I don't wish, but I almost wish there was an English version of that just to hear that.
I bet in the deep, dark depths of YouTube, somebody has done the translation of Circle of Life.
I always forget that you can just find out anything you ever want. Anything you speculate is real on the internet.
More than likely. There is no such thing as original thought, apparently. I want to talk about Hamlet.
We do have to do that before we move on. Hamlet. And I am not familiar with Hamlet, and I didn't even bother to look up anything about Hamlet because I knew that you, Katie, our resident Shakespeare fan, was going to take care of that.
Thank you very much. I will do my very best.
Take it away.
Thank you. A lot of people scoff when they say, "Oh, did you know that The Lion King's based on Hamlet?" And immediately start looking for things in Hamlet that don't happen in The Lion King and going, well, it isn't like it because this happens. And if it was like Hamlet, Nala would have killed herself. And you just think, no, it's not copied word for word, action for action. It has a lot of the themes. Yes. It has the theme of not being able to follow in your father's footsteps, not being able to own up to your responsibilities or revengefulness, if that's a word. It has the father's brother taking over where the son should take over, marrying his mother, which sort of by becoming head of the pride, Scar does. It has Rosencrantz and Guildenstern in the guise of Timon and Pumbaa, the best friends. And there are a lot of differences, but at its core, it has similar messages and themes. And thank goodness it doesn't go the way of Hamlet, else all the lions would be dead. Let's put it that way.
Thank goodness it didn't go the way of Hamlet then, in that case.
Yep.
A lot of ideas from a lot of places, but thank you, Shakespeare, for everything. Even all those books I've never read.
Or plays, in fact.
Yes. Even all those plays that I've never read. So, Katie, would you like to begin by talking about your opinion of this film?
I really just want to shout, I love The Lion King. but I know I've got to provide more content than just that. I just think it's a really great film. It's got funny bits, it's got sad bits, so sad bits. It's got great animation, it's got fantastic songs. It's such a good film. And of course it came out in 1994 when we were 9, so we were the perfect age for The Lion King. We are the Lion King generation. And I did make quite a few notes while I was watching it, but my first note was, you know The Circle of Life?
Yes.
And it's sung by an off-screen character.
Yes.
In my head, it's sung by the giraffe. The giraffe that you first see when they say, "and blinking step into the sun," and she's with the baby giraffe that blinks when they step into the sun.
Oh.
In my head, that giraffe sings that song.
Is that something that you felt since you first watched it when you were younger?
Yes, and I think it's just to do with the timing that you see the giraffe when you hear the lyrics start. While we were watching the bit when Simba goes into the elephant graveyard, when he's putting himself deliberately in danger, Mike's comment was, "He asks for it a lot, that little king." And I thought, well, Simba's probably, 9 or 10, and he's showing off to his friend.
And also he really admires Mufasa and wants to be like Mufasa, and his understanding of that is he's got to demonstrate his bravery.
I'm only brave when I have to be.
Gives me the shivers.
There's a gorgeous bit there where Simba's tiny little paw is in the big paw print of Mufasa, and that's kind of encapsulates what the whole film is about, that he's got this big reputation to live up to, and he's just a tiny little lion cub. There's a bit where Zazu is in a cage in Scar's cave, and he starts singing, "It's a small world after all," and Scar says, no, anything but that. That's a nice little dig from Disney at themselves.
Yeah, it is. I liked that. I actually made a note of that because that bit tickled me.
And there's 2 things in The Lion King that everybody loves. Everybody loves teen Simba, that they only see very briefly, and everybody loves grabbing a household pet and lifting it up to recreate the circle of life at the end.
My very first note as I started watching this film was, "Cool beginning. This inspired all lifting up of domestic pets."
I just wrote Simba equals pets.
Yeah, I've done it a lot of times. And also, you know, when you can't get signal on your phone and you want to send a message or something and you actually hold your phone up like Simba.
Right, Jen, I want to hear your overall opinion of the film and anything specific you'd like to add.
I really love this film altogether. And it's not one that I think of and think, oh, that's one of my favourite films ever. Even though Can't Wait to Be King is in my top Disney songs of all time. I love that song so much. And especially a wonderful thing about it is it's very singable, which as we learned from Snow White, not all Disney songs are. And if you're a fan of princess movies, like I am, a lot of the songs, maybe you can't really match them in pitch. But just Can't Wait to Be King on it.
But what you don't have in pitch, you match in enthusiasm.
What I don't have in pitch, I do match in enthusiasm. And howling to the moon, even if it's not out. There are a lot of really great aspects of this film. The characters are wonderful. Who doesn't love Mufasa? He's the Atticus Finch of Disney dads.
That's a brilliant comparison. I totally agree.
Thank you. And it made me a little bit sad at the start because I think Mufasa, for all of his great characteristics, he isn't clever enough to know that he should be afraid of Scar, which obviously leads to his downfall. And I wonder if, we just say that because we all know what's going to happen to him. But I think Scar is so sinister and Mufasa's just like, my brother, what am I going to do about him? Obviously, Mufasa dying is one of the most traumatic moments in Disney films. And when I was watching it, I was thinking, actually, usually main characters only have one parent. And I was wondering, is Simba the only one to lose his parent in the film? But then I remembered, of course, Bambi loses his mum.
Anna and Elsa lose both their parents.
They do! If you think of any more, let's think who are the most tragic Disney characters. I love the animation of the animals in this, and I think the lions just look wonderful. Like, they look really majestic and also really cuddly, and I love their faces, and I especially love their eye sockets.
Of course you do.
Which sounds weird, but I just think it just looks so good.
I love their paws.
They do have great paws. And something I was thinking when this was on in Just Can't Wait to Be King, my favourite song, why are the colours in that part of the film so psychedelic?
I think it's possibly used to separate the fact that they were talking and now singing. It's used in musicals sometimes. Suddenly the lighting will change to go, now it's a song. Before it was dialogue, now it's a song, and this may or may not be happening.
Okay.
Like a lighting change in a theatre. That would be my guess.
Then, of course, I want to talk about Timon and Pumbaa because they are wonderful, and they have great lines, they have great jokes, and they're funny individually, but they're more funny together. I especially love Pumbaa's meant to be the stupid one, but then when they're talking about what they think the stars are, Pumbaa actually, scientifically describes the stars, and they're all, stupid. I just found that very charming, and I also love how seriously he takes Simba's heritage. When he finds out that Simba's the king, he's all down kissing his toes and my liege.
I grovel at your feet. It's not gravel, it's grovel, and don't. He's not the king.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great example of Pumbaa taking it really seriously, and also they have great lines. Or should I say they have great lions?
Boy, have you got your lions crossed.
The plot of the film is actually very serious and at times very sad, and they add great comic relief, and they really balance the film. 2 thumbs up, Timon and Pumbaa. Are you the best Disney duo? I think so. And then my last thought of the film was, how was Pride Rock formed? You don't have to answer that. I was just thinking aloud unless you know. And also, why when Simba becomes king do they not have to leave Pride Rock? Because Scar's ruined the entire land and driven all the animals out, but they stay there. But I was watching it with my mum, who's, our guest on every episode who isn't actually here to be a guest. She's our guest in spirit. She said the rain solved everything, and you can't argue with your mum.
No, that's true. You can't. It's when people pose questions like that my answer is, it's a film. You have to give credit to dramatic license, and you have to suspend your disbelief, and you have to let the weather represent the feeling of the film. So it's all dry, barren, on fire when the baddie Scar is in charge. And once Simba takes his rightful place, the status quo of the land is restored. Rain comes to make the Pride lands green and lush and have the animals return.
So Timmy was right. The rain did solve everything.
Timmy was right. Shout out to Timmy.
Good job. You called it.
Which is your favourite song?
My favourite song is I Just Can't Wait to Be King. Proving that in fact it's not that singable. You're welcome. And what is your favourite song?
Hakuna Matata. What a wonderful phrase. And there's also a very good reason why that is my favourite song, which I will tell you about now if you will allow me.
I will allow you.
Flashback. I'm going to take you back in time, Jen, to the summer of 1995. And I was going on holiday with my whole family, and I had a cassette tape of The Lion King. For our younger listeners, a cassette tape is like a CD, but it's a rectangle, and you have to rewind it if you want to listen to it from the start.
And you can also, after you've listened to one side, turn it over and listen to the other side.
Can't do that with a download, can you, kids?
Can't do that with a CD, can ya?
So we're back in 1995 in the summer holidays, where I am staying with my whole family, and I've listened to this cassette tape about 100,000 times, and it is the story of The Lion King with several of the songs on it. Oddly not Be Prepared, but the others. And I've driven my dad mad because I think he's heard it probably 95% of the times that I've listened to it. And I used to hide around the house we were staying in on holiday and leap out at my grandma, who was 79, and sing When I Was a Young Warthog at her. And it goes to show her strength of character and obviously medical strength, that she would just laugh it off and just sort of go, oh, you baby jump. But that was one of the things I was doing as a 10-year-old in the summer.
That sounds very charming.
I was very much Lion King obsessed at that age. I had a jumper, a t-shirt, I had the play set. I had 2 actually. I had the big play set and the mini one, which was more like a Polly Pocket. But the big play set was Pride Rock, and the top bit you could spin round to see inside of it. And at the bottom, there was an elephant graveyard where there was a rib cage that you could ping back and then press a button and it would go forwards so it looked like it was trapping anybody behind it. And there was also at the front a little pool that you could put water in, and if you pumped one of the stones, bubbles came up in the water.
That's really cool.
It was brilliant.
Wow. We had it on video, and I don't think that I had any toys of it or anything. My biggest Lion King memory as a kid, actually, is I was watching it when I was at my mum's friend's house, and it made me feel very upset and cry a little bit, and I was quite upset about that in itself because it was the first time a film had made me cry.
I remember seeing it at the cinema. I'm pretty sure it was the first Disney film I'd ever seen at the cinema, and I remember getting the video on the day of its release.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I liked The Lion King a lot. I also really need to mention that it's Liz's favourite film. My best friend Liz, it's her favourite film.
Shout out to Liz. We hope you enjoy this podcast. This one's for you.
When we went to Disneyland Paris, I think it was last year, we were flicking through some of the channels, and Timon and Pumbaa have their own channel, which is called Safety Smart, and it combines two of Liz's and mine's favourite things, Timon and Pumbaa, and health and safety.
Oh, wow.
So Timon and Pumbaa would teach you how not to litter, how to behave around a swimming pool, that sort of thing.
Apart from wanting to shout, I love teenage Simba, I think I'll conclude my thoughts on this film by saying it's slimy yet satisfying.
That leads us on to our leaderboard. Now, obviously, Snow White is up there. We have to decide whether The Lion King goes above or below Snow White. And I think from just listening to this podcast, you've probably guessed where I am going to put Lion King. And that is way above Snow White. Jen?
I'm going to also put The Lion King above Snow White. I agree with you. And next time we'll be adding a new film to the rota. But obviously you can't find out about that unless you listen to the Midway podcast.
We'd really love your feedback. Anything you want to tell us about The Lion King, any merchandise that you had, any experiences, anything really. We just really want
photos of you in Lion King jumpers we would love to see.
I am absolutely going to post a picture of me on my 10th birthday party in my Lion King jumper. And the way that you can get in touch with us is on Twitter
at KJDPod or by email
kjdpodcast@gmail.com, or you can find us on Facebook, or you can visit our brand new website, which is at kjdpod.wordpress.com. And we're going to post all sorts of things up there, aren't we, Jen?
We are. So please visit us on the website, not our houses, don't be weird. Or tweet us, or Facebook us, or email us. Get in touch with us. We love it. We'll read you out on air.
Or just shout really, really loudly.
Yeah. I mean, I'm basically at one end of the country. Katie, you're kind of at the other. So no matter where you are, if you shout loud enough, one of us will probably.
If you'd like to shoot a short film of yourself singing the song The Morning Report, I will make Jen watch it.
And if you do take the time to shoot a film of yourself watching Morning Report, I would actually happily watch it. But under no other circumstances will I listen to that song.
You can also get in touch with us and let us know your answer to the Disney Daydream that we posed in the Midway podcast. But just in case you haven't listened to that yet, we're going to repose it for you now.
Fire away, Katie.
You've been gifted with the ability to hit all the right notes. Which Disney song are you going to perform?
Very good. And if you let us know by one of the aforementioned methods, then we'll be reading out your responses in our Midway podcast.
And the best Disney Daydream will receive a special KJDPod goodie bag.
Wow. So if people at home, if you would like to win that, please remember to answer our Disney Daydream within the next week so that we have a chance to read it out on the show for you.
So thank you very much for downloading this podcast.
And if you have any friends who are fans of Disney, then please recommend this to them too.
That only leaves me to say thank you very much from me, Katie.
And from me, Jen. And we'll see you next time on Katie and Jen's Disney Film Podcast.
See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.